Hey guys, good afternoon. Back with another live for you. And I love this topic that I'm going to talk about today because it really shifted my journey into transforming. If you guys don't know, my name is Kim, and I am a transformation coach, specifically weight loss, but not only weight loss, it's a holistic approach to not only your body, but your life, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And what I've learned on my transformation journey was that once I truly locked into true transformation, it had a domino effect on all areas of my life. And so that's what I come to share with you, because so many of us, we think that the core thing that needs to change in our life is our body. And if we change our body, if we have the perfect body, if our body was the way we wanted it, everything in our life would change. And that's true, but also not true at the same time. Because how you do things is how you do everything. So the way that you go about transforming your body, the way you go about the way you live, the way you feed your body, the way you nourish yourself, all that, it feeds into all areas of your life. But today's topic is about good food versus bad food, right? Everyone wants to know, what are the best foods to lose weight? What are the most potent foods for me to see results the fastest? But I've also come here to tell you guys that, guess what? There's no such thing as good food and bad food. No such thing. And I know this is so counterintuitive to most people, and I'm getting straight into it because I got to take my kids to practice. But I wanted to come on this week and talk about this because it's something that I talked about in my stories. And because I've gone through my transformation process, and a lot of the things that I do, I have to remind myself that, the people that I coach and the people that I share things with, what seems simple to me, what seems so like, of course, to me now, is not that way for most people. And, the more that I've continued on my journey and I coach people along, it's like, I have so many of these aha moments that are like, yes, like people need to know and understand this. And it makes the transformation process so much easier and smoother and enjoyable. So let's talk about this topic of good food versus bad food. I used to see food this way, as in this is good and this is bad. And I'll tell you guys, language is everything when it comes to everything in our life. We see things in our mind through language. Language forms pictures in our mind about everything. If we don't have a word for a thing, if we can't say what a thing is, we can't form a picture in our mind which cannot pull information from our brains to tell us, make a judgment on us. And I talk about this all the time. You guys already know that everything that we give meaning to is because of the belief that we have in our mind about it. We've created pictures. Our minds are built on being as efficient as possible. So our brain is always looking for a shortcut to just make decisions. And it's always wanting to be as efficient as possible when it comes to making decisions about what we need and what we don't need, what's good versus bad. So knowing that and going on my transformation journey, as I went along and I really started changing my relationship and realizing what I had been doing in the past, how I would approach it, it just wasn't working. I had to unturn so many rocks in my life and really slow down the process for me to speed up. And I hear so many, and I was listening to Dr. Myron Golden this week, and I was like, so many like parallels to my transformation journey that he really reminded me of. And this process of slowing down so we can speed up. We think physically going faster is what actually gets us the result that we want. But in reality, we are using so much energy and not getting far enough. So you think you are performing this task at a speed that's fast, but in reality, you're speeding up, but you're also setting yourself back, because whatever you're doing is not sustainable. Whatever you're doing is going to have you burned out, and so on. So I would constantly go through these journeys or moments, situations when it came to my transformation over years and years and years, where I would always find this new thing that would make my weight loss come off faster. I would always find these new things that's like, oh, that's it. That's what I do. And it would make things seem like they were going faster, but they were not sustainable. And most of all, it just set me back, because what would I do? It would not be sustainable, and therefore I would go back to my old ways. And I wasn't building a foundation in my understanding about food and my body and about the holistic approach about how I saw things. I wasn't building that foundation. So it looked like I was going and making it, but in reality, all I was doing was going fast and then eventually going backwards. And then every time I would go backwards, and you've probably noticed the same thing, every time you make progress, right? You go on the diet and do the thing, right? You go and over exercise, and you'd be excited because you're losing the weight. So you exercise more and exercise more. And I was the same way. I would drop my calories, and I could see I could lose more weight. But then like my body's not responding. Then I would drop my calories and more, and I would lose more weight. And then it came to a point where it was not sustainable. I could not sustain that weight loss that way. I could not exercise for an hour and a half, cardiovascular exercise every single day and sustain it. So what I would do, as soon as I would stop, right, I would burn out, I would stop. All I would do is regain the weight all over again. And then I would gain more weight. So not only am I physically setting myself back, but mentally and emotionally, it was always a setback. So the concept of slowing down to speed up is a real concept. Taking your time and actually evaluating what you're doing, how all areas of your life, right? And today we're going to talk about language, right? The language that we use for everything, but specifically for food, how that changes the picture that we see in our mind. When we change the picture we see in our mind, it changes the emotion that we have about it. But most of us, all of us, we have preconceived notions about certain words that we use, and we don't even consciously realize that we are using it. But those words that we use for that food, it creates a picture in our mind, which creates an emotion of how we feel and how we approach that, right? So if you say donut, right? I say donut, most will say, oh, donut, that's bad food, right? That's bad. So when I say it's bad, what happens? I'm gonna get that donut, right? And I'll have the donut, and the emotions that I'm feeling the entire time is that I feel guilty, I feel bad, I feel like, oh, I need to do something to negate what I just ate because that was a bad thing. And we go back and forth on this like seesaw, and then on this roller coaster up and down. And then we have this attachment to food where it's like, this is so bad, but it tastes good and it feels good, and like, you know, it's just like this polarizing experience that we have with food, where it's like we want it but we know it's so bad, and we have this guilt feeling. And so we go on this cycle over and over of wanting something and feeling guilty, and wanting something and feeling guilty, and have to do something to undo that guilt. But I'm telling you, if you undo your language and how you see food, and understand that food is absolutely neutral, food is not good or bad. When I put a donut in my body versus when I put broccoli in my body doesn't see it as good or bad. It sees it as components. What are the components of that food? And it does what it will with it. It's not good or bad. The result that we eventually get over time from ingesting certain amounts of those components of the food. And when I say components, I'm talking about sugars, fats, proteins, vitamins, nutrients, all of that. That is what determines how it affects our body, whether it's good or bad. One donut in itself is not bad. You know, one piece of broccoli in itself is not good, but it's the accumulation of the components of each of those foods over time. And this is why we have to change the language on food and really get down to making it neutral and understanding that all food are just components that we need in our body. So how does that look when we really are talking about food? So, and why does any of this matter? Because when we're saying something is good or bad, and we're forming an emotional attachment to it being good or bad, right? Because, you know, we've all, you know, been living for so long, right? And we all have been socialized around food, and now with marketing, you know, over the last, you know, 50 years, right? When real true food marketing, 100 years, at least, food marketing has become playing on our emotions when it comes to certain food, right? So, and I can remember, it's so interesting because I can remember years ago, a few years back, right when I was like, right in the start of my, transformation journey, I just was becoming more and more aware of like the food industry and how food is marketed to us. And I walked into the store and I saw that they had food on display, and the food on display was like chips, and I think it was like Super Bowl or something going on. And in my mind, it was like I got a download from God, and he was like, look at how they market junk food versus how they market healthy food, right? The healthy food in the food area, in like the produce section, it's just put in a pile and it's there, right? There's no fancy, like, come here, look at me, look at this beautiful food. But the food in the aisles in the store versus produce, it is heavily marketed, right? With the colors and the labels and the stands that they put on it. And what's interesting about it as well is that food is also manufactured for our taste buds in a certain way to make us want it more and more. So not to get too deep into that, but at the end of the day, we've been socialized on how to feel about certain foods. So when you are marketed certain foods like potato chips, cakes, donuts, whatever, sweets, sugar, it's marketed as like this, like, treat yourself, like, this is going to make you feel good, and, all of this kind of stuff. And the people that they show, how when it's marketed, they look just so healthy on the outside, right? So beautiful, and like they're having just the greatest time. And so we have so over time, like we're marketed food in this way, and fruits and vegetables are not marketed in that way at all. It is what it is. So over time, we build this emotional attachment to what we would call bad food, right? The processed foods, because they're trying to sell more of it. We build this emotional attachment to it, but at the same time, we're also told by the same industries that this is bad for you, and now get the low-fat version of that, and now try this and try that. So it's like so many conflicting messages that we get about food over time that changes the way that we see and we think about food. And so when it comes down to it, right, we're in this position where most of people in the West are obese, right, overweight, and now we're faced with, we don't even understand food anymore because most people eat out of a bag. They eat out, fast food. We hardly make our food at home. And so we really don't understand the components of food and how food works in our body. So we've built up this language, we've built up this emotional tie to what we call bad food, right? And the other food, right, that we call produce, fruits and vegetables, it's just kind of like, we see it as just like, oh, I have to eat that to be healthy. I have to do that because it's good for me. And these are little subtle things that we don't realize that, as far as our relationship with food goes, that we are experiencing. And so what happens when we go to quote unquote diet and lose weight, we have this feeling of like someone is taking something away from us because we cannot eat what we call bad food. And now we have to eat this other food, right? It's good, but it doesn't taste as good, and all of that. And so we're struggling internally with that. But the thing is, it's only the language that we've used in the socialization of food that has changed the way that we see food. And it doesn't matter if over time those good foods, right, fruits and vegetables, are good for us internally. We won't see it that way. It's because a frame has been placed over it. It's been placed over like, oh, it's so hard to consume because it takes a lot of time to make, and it always goes bad in my fridge, and all of these things. So we've made quote unquote bad food like, this is actually better for me, it's easier, and then eating healthy is just too hard. So when it comes to the language of food, what I learned in my transformation, what I share with my clients, and it's so interesting when I was talking in my stories, the reason why this topic even came up is because, I talk to my kids about how to approach food, and I see the language that even they use because it's just natural, it's what they've been exposed to as well. In the quote unquote real world about food, like, this is good and this is bad. I'm like, No, we don't see anything as good or bad, you guys. It's not about good or bad. It's about let's educate ourselves and actually understand the base of food. What do our bodies need? And let's look at this food and say, is this food giving me those components? And when I say components, again, I'm talking about our proteins, our fats, and so on. So you could technically eat a donut and it's giving you the fats that you actually need. It's giving you the carbohydrates that you need, and so on. But how much of that you are eating, right? The balance of that you're eating is what creates the end result of too much fat, too much, whatever the case may be, too many calories that's making me gain weight. So the donut in itself is not bad. The broccoli in itself is not just always good. It's how much you're having of those things. So I teach my clients, I teach my children, I've learned myself over time that I never look at any food as good or bad. I look at it as in what is in this food, what are the components of this food, and what do I need right now? And what you need currently in the moment is all going to depend on your lifestyle, what you're doing, how you're moving, all of those things. That feeds into what you need. So slowing down, like I said, right? We slow down to speed up. Slowing down and understanding, okay, what is my lifestyle like? What is the lifestyle I am building? Who am I becoming in this process, right? If I'm a person I'm an athletic person, I work out daily, I move my body, then there's certain components of food that I'm going to need more than other foods. I don't call this food bad. I look at it as what are the components? So for instance, this coffee, I have this coffee and it's like an iced coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. And typically, depending on what I'm doing right with my body, I'm going to say whether or not I need more or less carbohydrates, aka sugar. So I'm going to adjust the amount of sugar. I don't just blanket this and call this bad because it has sugar in it. No, I say to myself, okay, well, what am I doing today? What am I doing this week? What do I need from this? Okay, this has carbohydrates in it. Coffee in itself has benefits to it as well that are helpful to me. And can I use these components according to the way that I'm living my life? Awesome. I'm going to adjust it and move it around according to how I want to live. So I'm no longer feeling guilty about drinking an iced coffee with mocha and whatever. I'm analyzing this item and saying what's in it. It's no longer about whether it's good or bad. And this is how you have to look at food on a daily basis. And what you'll learn over time is that, I get more out of eating this way than that way. And this may seem like it's just like not a big deal, or it's like, okay, well, it sounds so easy. But you guys, it is honestly that easy. It's that simple. But what's the difficult part for us is releasing our emotional ties and releasing the language that we have around food. Change your language, be aware of the language that you're using when you talk about food, and actually get deeper into what are the components of this food? What are the protein content? What is the carbohydrate content? Do I need that? Which of these foods is going to give me the most out of what I want to do? I want to be alert. I want to be strong. I want to build muscle. I want to have vitality. So I want to lean on eating more this way. There's no black and white one way or the other. And this is also another reason why I don't do meal plans, and that I think meal plans are can be kind of set you back a little bit, because we have to learn how to think for ourselves. We have to learn how to properly analyze ourselves. And the way we live our life is not going to be the same for everyone, right? So I think a generic meal plan is not very helpful to people. What's helpful to people is actually learning the components of food, learning what you like, and building your life around that. So with my clients, I never give them some blanket general meal plan. I say, you know what? And let's be honest, most of the time, what's on a meal plan, even I've seen, I don't even like that kind of food. Like, I don't eat like that naturally. You have to meet people where they are. You have to meet yourself where you are right now. So if you're eating a particular way right now, I would always suggest is to start where you are and build on it. Build on it. Start knowing and understanding the basics of food in our body, the way our body processes sugar, what it's used for, proteins, fats, all of that. understand why we need all that so you can understand how to approach food. That way, you don't have to limit your life to where I can go, where I can't go, what I can do, what I can't do, because I'm on a diet. And that's what a lot of people struggle with. And that people don't even realize or even talk about. A lot of people socially struggle with quote unquote dieting or changing the way they eat because they see that as, oh, if I change the way that I eat, that means I can't go to this event, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. And that's not true at all. When you understand the basics of food and understand the way the food works in your body and understand that there is no such thing as a good thing, a good food or a bad food, you will understand you can go anywhere and create meals and eat in a way that still is helping you reach the goals that you want to reach. And so it's really important. That's what I was showing in my stories with my daughter. We got home late and we had like a frozen burrito in the refrigerator. And the way that I shop is the same way that I look at food when I buy food. It's like, okay, you can get burritos at the store, and you can get a burrito that is working for you. You can get a burrito that's working against you. So I use these as well as when I shop, as well as when I eat out. But then over time, I also understand like, okay, what's helping me meet my goals more? Making food at home is helping me meet my goals more. Because why? Because I can control the environment that my food is made at. I can control the components of my food that way. And I can watch and see how that affects my results that I see. If I'm transforming, if I'm losing weight. And when I talk about how understanding this and using this framework and this outlook in your transformation, that also changes the way you see everything. It changes the way you interact in relationships. It changes the way that you interact. So many people want to use everything to be just so black and white. And I understand. It's the way that our brains work. Our brains want to find patterns to make it easier. But you can train your brain to make new patterns. And this is why weight loss is more than just how many calories in, how many calories out. Weight loss and transformation is truly about changing what's up here. Everything that was on the outside never changed when it came for me to make a successful transformation. Nothing on the outside changed. How I viewed things on the outside changed. The way I framed food changed. The way I framed exercise in my mind changed. When I changed the way that I framed it, it changed the way that I felt about it. When it changed the way that I felt about it, it changed the way that I acted. So it's a process of the framing, the emotional, and then the output, what you output. So exactly how you think and feel about something determines how you behave in the process. So if you're finding yourself that you do not want to exercise, you just hate it. Like, I'm just want to right? Some people have this idea. I hate moving. I hate exercising. It's so hard. You guys, that's literally physically just opposite of how our bodies were made. This has nothing to do with you physically hate moving. It's the way that you framed moving in your mind, the way you think about exercise, the way you think about moving your body. That's what is the issue. It has nothing to do with your body. Our bodies were made to run, to dance, to lift heavy things. It was made to do that. It was made for us to create whatever we want to create in our body. Our bodies are built that way. It's so beautiful what the body can do when we really put the work into it, because our body was built that way, right? Our body was built to transform. It was built to get better, right? But over time, we have framed it that it's just hard and all this kind of stuff, right? So it's never about changing what's on the outside, because naturally our bodies want to move. Naturally our bodies want to be strong. Those are all things that come natural to us. It's the way that we've learned to think about them over time, the way we framed it over time, right? Oh, exercising is time consuming. I don't have time. It just makes me tired. It's actually the opposite. Exercise actually gives you more energy. It does not make you tired. Well, it's been a long day. So when I get home from work, there's no way I can exercise. Yes, you can exercise. It's just about how we're framing it. Do we want to make the time for Netflix, or do we want to make the time for choosing to move our bodies. And when we choose to move our bodies, guess what? We become in a better mood. We sleep better. There's all these domino effects that we have to moving our body and to eating well. But because we're so used to wanting to see and feel the immediate outcome, we don't understand those small things that change in our body. And they're not even small, they're very big things, because it's not the number on the scale. I had to see things internally change for myself, and my clients as well had to see things internally change for themselves before it showed up on the scale. And learning and teaching yourself how to acknowledge the internal changes that you feel first will keep you motivated to eventually that external change is going to happen. It has no choice. It will show up for you. So me then versus now was, oh, if I don't see an immediate 10-pound weight loss in a week, that means it's not working. I give up. I don't want to see it. Versus now, when I started in my journey into a successful transformation, the way that it showed up for me was, oh, wow, I'm sleeping better. Oh, wow, like my mood is different, right? That was my driving force. The internal change that I had was my driving force. At that point, I wasn't even concerned if I was going to get to a certain scale weight loss. I knew it was going to happen because I was eating better. I was doing better. I knew it was going to happen, but I had to slow down internally in my thinking and slow down in my emotional space and really address the positives that were going on for me to be able to see the physical changes show up. Once that happened, I felt like my results went light speed. As a matter of fact, I can remember like my transformation going so quickly at a certain point that it almost scared, I was like, oh, slow down. And, it was like kind of overwhelming because it was just, things were just snowballing and moving so quickly. And I felt so good about it. So you can have that experience, but you have to understand that we have to change the language around food and how we frame food, how we frame movement. There is no good food versus bad food. And oh yeah, we're gonna get going soon. There's nothing called good food or bad food. All there is components of food, and what your job is to find out what are the components that I need for the body and the life that I'm trying to build. What does that look like in my food so I can drive that result? What is it that I need? So you can have the things that you want, but just make sure it's also fitting into your goal that you're trying to reach. And you can do that, and I show my clients how to do it. I've done it myself for years. And my client today, she was texting me today too, and she was just like, Cam, again, I just want to thank you so much. Like, having you in my corner has just really changed my life. We changed the way that she was framing foods, and we changed the way that she was looking at things, and it changed so many areas of her life. She doesn't feel discouraged if she has like a plateau. She doesn't feel discouraged because she knows, like, as she's continuing to move, she's gonna learn, and the needle is gonna move. The needle is always moving internally before you'll see it on the outside, and she's been able to prove that self to her over and over and over again. And I can remember we had a conversation like way back a while ago. And she's like, potatoes are bad, right? I can't eat potatoes. And I'm like, girl, you can eat potatoes. Like, there's nothing wrong with potatoes. Like, it's fine. You think about like what's in the potatoes. You have healthy carbohydrates. There's some fiber in there, right? Like that's totally fine. But just something as simple as that, right? So many of us, we need permission to do the things that we want to do, or to let go of the beliefs that we need to let go of. And I just feel like when we had that conversation, it completely changed the way she saw so many things. To me, I feel like that was really the moment where it really changed the way she saw food, right? That simple conversation of us, like, there's no good food or bad food. It's like, it contains the things that you need, right? So yeah, you want to adopt that. But again, it's finding that balance. It's finding out, what are my goals? How am I living? Do I need that? And what you need on a daily basis is going to be different. You know, the less that I move, the less that I want to eat. I don't need to make myself eat more. I don't want to eat. So it's that being in tune and in touch with our bodies. And it's such a freeing experience as well, because it's like when you have that internal control inside of you, nothing on the outside can tell you any differently because you're in tune with yourself. So that's the topic today. It's talking about good food versus bad food. So just remember, you guys, there is no good versus bad foods. It's about learning the basics of nutrition and understanding the food that we take in. Our bodies doesn't see it as good or bad. It sees it as components. What are my proteins? What are my fats? What is it that I need? Where is it going in my body? That's how your body sees it. You have to see it from the base level of how your body interprets it when you ingest it. Once you see it that way, you stop framing it as good or bad. But what you do start seeing is that, oh, there's a pattern in certain foods. When I eat less packaged foods, I get more of what I need according to the goals that I'm trying to eat. So again, it's not about, I'm never going to eat this food again. I'm never going to eat that. But it's like, when I minimize that and I increase that, then it helps me meet the goal that I want to meet. So reframing that, and it seems so subtle and so simple, and it really is. But it takes practice over time. It's not going to feel comfortable in the beginning. It's not going to feel super comfortable. It's going to feel weird and odd, and it's going to feel like, you know, someone's trying to take something away from me. But and I'll tell like one more story. I can remember, you know, in the past, I used to, before I would like start going on any diet, I would make sure I would binge on like all of my favorite foods. And I'm sure we've all been there. Before we do a cabbage diet, or, you know, we fast or do whatever, we make sure we binge on all of our favorite foods right the night before. I remember doing this all of the time. And I can remember now, like, you know, making that transformation. Like, I no longer think in that way, or like something is getting taken away from me, or I can never have something again. I can eat whatever I want, but I have control and power over making choices that give me the result that I want to have. And if I'm sick of a certain result that I'm getting, I'm going to have to reduce certain choices that I'm making. It's not you can never have it. I just reduce certain choices that I'm making. And having that outlook, having that frame around food, it changes how you feel about it. It empowers you in such a different way that you just approach it so differently, and the experience that you have with it is different. It makes you want to keep going. It makes you want to move your body more. It makes you want to make healthier choices, because once you tell your mind you cannot have something, what happens more? You focus on it more. You want to have it more. But instead you say, well, if I have this, how can I adjust this to help me meet my goals? If I want to have an iced coffee that typically has 400 or 500 calories of pure sugar, how can I still adjust that to get what I want, but it still is making my goal? Cool, I can reduce the sugar and I can change this or change that in it, and it still tastes the same to me. So I'm still, quote unquote, getting what I want, but it's helping me meet my goals, right? Let's frame it that way instead of framing it as I cannot have something. Because again, the more you tell yourself you can't have something, the more your mind is going to focus on you wanting it, and the more it's going to try to get you to get it. So much of this is a psychological thing, because everything starts in our mind. The way that we behave, it starts with how we frame or see something, an idea, which triggers an emotion, which triggers our actions. So if we can try to release that tension around the emotion of good food versus bad food as much as possible, it will change the way that we behave around food, and it will help you get the result that you want easier and easier and easier, and you actually will go faster. And that's the whole concept behind slowing down so that you can speed up. So thank you guys so much for watching today. I enjoyed sharing this. If you guys have more questions or topics that you want me to discuss, feel free to comment in the chat, or you guys can message me as well. And if you are ready to make your transformation and you've done all of the things and you just feel like, you know, there's just something missing and I'm tired of doing the things that I've always done because I know the result that I'm going to get, and I know that I'm only going to burn out and come back, or it's just like there's something I'm missing here. There's something that, and you just have this desire, right, that you want to meet this physical goal that you have in your life. You want to have more energy. You want to improve your health. I know so many, a lot of the clients that I've worked with have had health issues, and I've worked closely with them and their physicians to help them meet the goals that they want to meet, and they've been able to do that. But you guys, you have to have that support as well, and most importantly, you really have to have that mental and emotional support along the way. I had it when I started, and that's just so key. Community is so key when it comes to changing and transforming your life. You cannot be in the same environment surrounded by the same stimuli and get different results. It's just like an uphill battle. It becomes more and more difficult. You can do it with quote unquote willpower, but it'll run out and you find yourself again going through the same cycle of moving forward and going back. So if you want to make a transformation, you can DM me and just message me, let's chat, and we can talk about exactly where you are and what you need to do to meet the goals that you want to meet. And we can help you do that in an easy, relaxing way that makes you excited about meeting your goals and makes you excited about not just only your body, but about a holistic view of the life that you want to create, and that you see for yourself. And we can make that happen because how you do one thing is how you do everything. The way you treat your body, the result that you have in your body, it dictates so much of how everything else in your life is going, mentally, emotionally, physically, all of those things. Our body is our temple that we've been given to inhabit this earth, and the way that our bodies are functioning affects every area of our life. And this is why I truly believe that the diet industry is $1 billion industry, because they understand that the way that people are secretly feeling, and I say secretly because there's so many people walking around and they are suffering in their bodies, but they have a smile on their face, but they're in so much pain and they really just feel trapped in their bodies, but they don't know what else to do, because the diet industry is just a industry of solving the symptom and not really getting down to the core of why we're having the outward symptom of, being overweight or whatever. Instead, they want to put a Band-Aid on it. Just eat this food or just do this for 5 minutes and then everything will change. But it's deeper than that. And if you have struggled with your weight for a long time, you know that there's something missing there, and there's something more to know and understand and learn that the Band-Aid fix is just not going to do for you. But if you're interested, again, you guys, I have one-on-one coaching available right now. Just message me, let's chat, and we can talk about exactly where you are, and we can take you to your transformation and get you started and making you feel free and making you feel just excited about life again. When you are trapped in a body that you do not feel good in, you feel like everything else in your life is like a dark cloud. Nothing feels good. When you have vitality and you have energy, it changes how you approach everything in your life, your relationships, your mood, how you work. The way that you simply think, you guys, is being so dictated every moment of the day by what we are putting in our mouths and how we are moving our bodies. And my clients and myself is proof of that. Once I changed the way that I ate, I changed so many areas of my life, but not just what I changed physically, but how I looked at all of those things, the way I framed it, because it's just not enough just to change the food. You have to change the way you see it. And once you do that, it's like the sky's the limit. So thank you guys for watching. Hope to hear from you soon. Again, message me, or you can comment whatever you want to hear more about. I love posting in my stories because you guys tell me so many things and give me so many great ideas to talk about when it comes to the whole transformation journey. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.